everybody. I am Jessica Cutler. We come with Invents, a corporate event planning company here in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And I am super excited to be coming to you today for what is going to be the first of an 8-week series that we are going to be calling our Enformational Series. So, really kind of thought about where would be the right place to start on this, and decided that there was no better place to start than with the first question that I always get asked whenever I speak to a college class or when someone asks me what I do for a living. And it is always, well, how do I become an event planner? Right? It's an honest question. And really the answer is so simple. Like, this may be the shortest live ever. Because now listen close and take notes. I have no idea. I do not know how you become an event planner. Thank you for watching. Have a great week. No, I'm just kidding. I think that's what's so interesting about event planners is that we have all kind of come into it in our own way. I think if you put all of us together in a room and you ask, how do you become an event planner? How did you become an event planner? How did you? I think everyone is going to say something completely different. But what I can tell you, what I think everyone would agree on and what it would boil down to is that we have all learned this secret answer. And if you're ready, I'm going to tell you what that secret answer is. Yes. We have all learned how to say yes. Whether it's to clients, to life, to opportunity, yes. That is what we have learned how to say. We are notorious for being people pleasers and for trying to make everybody happy and for saying yes. My mantra, and you can ask anyone, I actually think it's even on the website right now, something I've sort of lived by over the past few years is that it's never no. It's just a different level of yes. So think about that. Never no, just a different level of yes. So since this is an informational series, and this is just sort of the start of it, really kind of getting in there, and we're going to be celebrating our 5th anniversary this November as Invents, I thought this would be a really cool opportunity to tell you about the series of yeses that have led me to being a corporate event planner. Now, I'm going to try to check in a little bit later, kind of talk to maybe if anybody's on there. I'm going to try to keep myself focused because if you can imagine, as an event planner, I really love to multitask and I can get off track very easily. So I'm going to try not to do that so this live is not 3 hours long. But if you have questions, throw them in the comment section as I kind of get through this and I'll go back into it. And we'll just kind of chat from there. So let's get started. I would love to say that my whole life I dreamed of being an event planner and here I am finally there. No, that was never the case for me. I remember sometime in my junior year of college, I was sitting down with my professor and she asked me what I wanted to be when I got out of college, and I had decided at that time that I was going to be a pharmaceutical sales rep. Yup. I don't really know why. Maybe because I like to wear stilettos and pencil skirts at the time. I have no idea. So I graduated #1. I'm a straight A student. Graduated #1 from Wingate University. I got a Bachelor of Science in Business Management with an emphasis in marketing and communications. And I just really thought that I was on top of the world. So here I was going to be a pharmaceutical sales rep. I just remember one night, I getting kind of into the summer before my senior year, I was actually sitting down talking to Allison Stanley, who I regard her as my soul sister. She's been a mentor and a best friend to me just through some of the most tough kind of years of your life, like college and obviously on through adulthood. And Allison, if you're watching, I love you. Because I really respect her. She's had a lot of experience planning large corporate events in the Charlotte area. She's worked with Bank of America and Lowe's, and she does stuff with Taste of the Nation. So I very much respect her. And we were just kind of chatting one night over a glass of wine, and I was telling her about how I was going to be a pharmaceutical sales rep. And she was like, Jess, the thing about you is that I don't know that you've given it a fair shot. Like, you like to make lists, you're super organized, you're, you're beautiful, you're witty, I'm just kidding. She's kind of pointed out some of those skills that lend to a really good event planner. And, she said, like, have you ever thought about that? And I was like, not really. And she was like, well, why don't you think about it? And I was like, yeah, okay, yes, cool, sure. I was like, but I don't really know the first thing about it, so I don't even really know where to start. And she was like, okay, well, like, have you thought much about being a pharmaceutical sales rep? Like, where were you going to start on that journey? And I was like, oh, I don't know. Like, they'll train me and they'll give me books to read, and that's how I'll find out. And she was like, well, books. If you need books, let's go get you some books. So Allison and I drove to the bookstore the next day, and we bought 3 books. And I still have them to this day. Number 1 was The Knot, Complete Guide to Weddings in the Real World. Book number 1. Book number 2, The Complete Idiot's Guide to Meeting and Event Planning. 2. And last but certainly not least, The Illustrated Manual of Bartending. Because if all else failed, or if it took me a while to get started, I wanted to know that I could make money, and I decided this was my ticket. So those were the 3 books that we bought, and I read them, I wrote notes, I was really open to the idea of being an event planner. So she used her connections to kind of get me some interviews in the area with some people that I actually use now as vendors, kind of like some prop companies and things like that. And every single person that I interviewed with, they all said the exact same thing. And if you're a college student watching this, you've probably already heard this. And it was, your resume looks really great, but you don't have any experience. Like, isn't that the most frustrating thing? Because it's like, yeah, I know I don't have any experience. I've been in college for the last 4 years. Like, it's just really frustrating, right? So, what I told you is that I graduated number 1. What I didn't tell you is that I also graduated in 2008. So, in the peak of the recession, does anyone remember what it was like to look for a job in 2008? You don't? Oh, that's probably because there weren't any. I just remember when I was searching for jobs, looking for job openings, and I remember this article pops up, and the headline read, 600 pharmaceutical sales jobs lost. And I remember being like, well, I'm glad I changed my mind. Because it was just well, okay, well, that was not my calling, fine, whatever, moving on. So, graduated 2008, no jobs to be had, couldn't get any of the jobs that I was applying for. So, what I decided to do was move to Myrtle Beach with my best friend, and just come down here, live in her Nana's condo for the summer. Okay, this was my grand scheme plan. I had nothing else, so we decided this was how we were going to attack it. So now, Myrtle Beach wasn't a new place for me. I had been living in Myrtle Beach really since 2005. So every summer in between college, I moved down here. The first one I sang and performed in High Steppin' Country. And then I was also an activities counselor at Lakewood Campground. So that was fun. And then the next summer, I actually ended up working, I transferred down from the Lowe's Home Improvement that I was working at in Monroe. I transferred down and worked at Lowe's Home Improvement in North Myrtle Beach. So that was my second summer down here. And then the third summer, I actually didn't move down here. I was competing in Miss North Carolina that year. So I ended up having to stay a little bit closer to home. So I actually lived with Allison in Charlotte, and commuted back and forth to my job where I was an after-school counselor at the Monroe Recs department. So Myrtle Beach wasn't an unfamiliar place to me. So whenever we decided we were going to come down here, I was stoked. But as I already said, I did not have a job. So I called up one of my buddies down here and I was like, hey, I'm moving to Myrtle Beach. I'm going to be there Monday. I don't have a job. Can you help me? I'll take anything. And his answer was, yeah, no problem. Show up at the bagel factory on 21st Avenue, ask for Ruben, and I'll let him know that you're coming. So I was like, all right. So that's what I did. I moved down to Myrtle Beach over the weekend, showed up at the bagel factory on 21st Avenue, 9 a.m., walked in. Hey, is Ruben here? Ruben walks up, and he's like, oh, hey, Jess, yeah, come on back. We'll start you at the register. So, straight A's, graduated number 1, making $8 an hour at the best job I've ever had. I loved the bagel factory. I was like one of the OG bagel babes. Like, I will still meet people to this day, and they'll be like, gosh, you look so familiar. And I'll be like, did you used to come into the bagel factory? And they're like, oh my gosh, Jessica. Like, it's funny. Like, I love the bagel factory. If you live anywhere near this area and you haven't been to the bagel factory, shame on you, because it's wonderful. Okay, sorry, I digress. So working in the bagel factory, just living the dream that whole summer. It was wonderful. And I remember it was like a Monday in September. And Shannon walks up to me and she's like, hey girl, remember how my Nana said that we could live in her condo over the summer? And I'm like, yeah, I do. And she's like, well, Nana says summer's over, so we need to be out by like Friday. So I was like, oh, okay. Well, and at this point in time, I really didn't have anything else that I was planning to do. So I'm like, okay, fine. I'll let Bagel Factory know. I'll work out this week. I packed everything into my car, did the thing. It was Friday, right before I was getting ready to leave. And I was standing behind the desk. And I just remember this woman comes up to the counter and she falls on the counter. And she's like, oh, I need an event planner. And I was like, yes, I am an event planner. I figured we could work out with the specifics of what that really meant. But in that moment, I identified as an event planner. And she didn't ask any more questions, bless her heart. I think she was just fed up with her company because she was an event planner. But all she said was, what time do you get off here? And I was like, well, I get off at noon. I was like, I work Monday through Friday, I get off at noon. She's like, okay, cool. Well, my office is just right around the corner. So just come here right after and we'll see you at 12:05 Monday. I was like, yes, okay, yes. So I'm like, great, this is wonderful. She leaves. I'm on cloud 9. I get off work. I walk out to my car and I'm like, oh, I don't have anywhere to live. Everything's in my car. I'm moving home. I have nothing. I don't know what to do. So I did what any self-respecting 22-year-old girl would do if this was the case. And I'm going to steal these words straight out of Ashlyn Fowler's mouth. So Ashlyn, if you're watching, this is straight from you. I went on tour. I couch surfed all of my friends' apartments until I really wore out my welcome with everyone. And finally, and I hate to even admit it, but my ex-boyfriend, who had already well moved on with his life with a new girlfriend and was just he was 10 years older, so he was ready, gone and gone. He felt so bad for me. He said, hey, look, I have 2 extra bedrooms in my house. You can use the bedroom in the front, and that's fine. Here's a key. And I was like, thank you so much. I promise I will not be an inconvenience in your life. And I felt that way so much so that I would not move my stuff out of the car. I would not move it into the place. I lived out of my car. And I would only bring in what I needed to take a shower and go to sleep, and then I was gone. So I started working Bagel Factory from 6 a.m. to noon, and then the company was Picture Perfect Events of Coastal Carolina, and I worked that from noon until 6 every day. And this was a cool little company because it really kind of did everything. It was third-party planning, so we did weddings, we did some festivals, we did a trade show, we did a corporate event. So I really kind of got to touch lots of different types of events, which was neat because I feel like most people, there is more to event planning than weddings. And I will tell you, it was truly in this time that I learned that it takes a very special person to be a wedding planner. I am not that person. But what I did find out was that I really, really, really loved the like corporate side of event planning. So I kind of like earmarked that and was like, okay, I like that. So how am I going to find out more about corporate event planning? So as you can imagine, working 60 hours a week and then trying to drive 5 hours home, like to my family's in North Carolina, and then 5 hours back to do it all again the next week, I got very tired and very broke very quickly. And so I really only worked that combo of the jobs for about 6 months until I had another opportunity come my way where I got to work with groups in Myrtle Beach in a different kind of way. As I accepted a job, I said yes to a job as a ticket sales lead at Dixie Stampede. Now, I was there Dixie Stampede as we changed it over to Pirates Voyage, and I will tell you, I loved the people that I worked with. Like, genuinely regarded them as my Myrtle Beach family. I hated the job. I hate to admit that, but I did. I just could not get past. I mean, like, I don't know how a grown man can look at this sweet, adorable face and cuss it out, but like a good day was like not getting cussed out more than 3 times a day. Like, it was legitimately like a horrifying experience most days. Like, for the first 6 months that I worked there, I'm pretty sure I cried myself home like every single day. It was awful. But I will say, I do feel like I learned a lot about confrontation, how to handle yourself, and customer service. And I will say, the mentors, like the managers, the people that I worked with, like, man, like, I learned so much. Like, Ann Hayes, L.H. McCoy, Rock Smith, Paul Brown, Cor Streeter, like they are rock stars. Like, they really did teach me so much about how to handle myself. I mean, I'm 23, 24 at the time. I'm a manager over, 70 plus people in the front end. So if there's any problems with your money or reservations, any of that stuff like this, I'm a part of the management team there. So I really, really learned a lot, and I am super appreciative to them every single day for just giving me that base in management and customer service, because it has really, really helped me over the years. But we opened Pirates Voyage, I think it was like June 1st. It was in the middle of the season. I did get to meet Dolly Parton, which was a bucket list item for me, and I was super excited about it. But we opened it in the middle of the summer. We were running like 5 show days every day. Corey and I were the only 2 managers in the reservations department at the time. No, I take that back. Jolie was working with us as well, but Corey and I, we would pretty much work 6 days a week, like 7 a.m. to 1 a.m. Now, that might be an exaggeration, or that might not. I'm pretty sure legally I'm not supposed to say either way. But when I got the opportunity, when I caught wind that the Sheraton Myrtle Beach Convention Center was hiring a CSM, my good friend Chris Cutler kind of told me a little bit about it, and he was like, I don't know, I think it's like event planning at the convention center. And I was like, yes, okay. So I remember I applied, I went in for the interviews, got down to me and somebody else. And I remember I sat down with the general manager, and the very last question that she asked me was, okay, Jessica, well, tell me, why should we hire you instead of the only other candidate that we have who has well over 10 years of experience, and you really have about 6 months truly of event planning experience? Why should we hire you? College students, you just take notes right now. You just write this stuff down, and you can take it into your next job interview. Because I had been practicing this answer, and I'm going to try not to mess it up for you today. Because I, with all the confidence in the world, said, you can teach anyone how to do a job, but you cannot teach anyone how to have a personality. And while I realize that I am not bringing a lot of experience to the table, I am bringing a lot of personality and a sheer determination to succeed. So while getting all straight A's through college maybe doesn't show you a lot of things, what it shows me is that I never fail. I got offered the position, and I said, yes. So that was a very interesting job for me. I didn't really know what a convention services manager was in in a hotel, but I really got to learn like the nuts and bolts. So it was like room sets, catering, AV, attrition, contracts, rooming lists, like resumes, BEOs, banquet event orders. Like I really learned like the nuts and the bolts. I will say again, thank you to all the many mentors that sat down and spent hours upon hours telling me and teaching me why it was so important, to write things out a certain way. Because what I learned very quickly in this job was that you, as a convention services manager, are in charge of writing in detail every specification for each room, for each meeting, for each day, for every event that you're assigned, like down to the square inch, and you needed to include dimensions on every single line. Yeah. Imagine why someone coming in with not that much experience was very overwhelmed and needed all of the help that I can get. So I really took the opportunity to soak in everything. So I always call him Chef. Chef Ford taught me so much about catering and menus and why you put things together and why menus cost so much money or not so much money. Like he taught me so much in that field. Bill Engel taught me all about AV and throw distance and connectors and amps and all kinds of things that still to this day I probably still have to look up, but I at least know the gist of it when someone who does know what they're talking about is talking to me. Mike Davis taught me all about banquets and room set and room flow and why it's important and why that's successful for an event. Jolie Prey taught me all about reservations and rooming list, why that's important. Melissa Salem, man, she really took the time to help me understand contracts, client facing, and reports. I mean, she really kind of shaped me in the sales side of it. Frankie Sluss, I know I shouldn't have spent all this time, but like if any of y'all catch this, like I thank you so much. Frankie Sluss taught me like everything on the exhibit hall side, trade shows. I mean, I have been so blessed to have so many people who know so much more than me around me when I've needed you. Like that's the key to success as an event planner. Find someone who knows more than you and let them teach you. So working at the convention center, it was really, really awesome. I learned so much. But I kind of got to the place where I was planning events 6 months out without even like talking to the client. Like they would just sort of like send me their itinerary, and I could pretty much plan their entire event without, with the exception of a few little details. But it got very, I don't want to say boring, but it got a little boring for me, and I was like ready for the next challenge. So now, when I had been working there was a company that would come in and partner with us on some of our programs called Leo Events. And they kind of came in on a different side. Like I always say, like convention planning was like the meat and potatoes, and like what event planning services Leo Events was providing was like the appetizers and the desserts. It was like the part that everybody like loved and they wanted. So I just thought that was a really cool side of events that I really wanted to learn. So when I saw that they had posted a position, I read the description. I knew that I was who they were looking for, and I applied, I interviewed, I got the job, and I said yes. So from there, really, that was, I just kind of nutshelled 10 years of my life for anyone who is watching. But really, Leo Events helped. They continued to push me. They really supported me in go ahead and studying and testing with all the 10 years of experience that I had accumulated up to that point. Pushed me to get my DMCP, which basically meant that I was a Destination Management Certified Professional. So if you ever see those little letters at the back of it, that is what that means. And that is where I am now. Now, we will talk more about events next week, about how I am where I am right now here in events, but that was really my journey, all the yeses that I had to say, all the opportunities that I had to say yes to be able to get to where I am right now. So, how do you become an event planner? I truly don't know. It's certainly, important to be able to say yes to all the right opportunities, to be able to put yourself in the place, in the right opportunities, to be able to say yes. But, you know, the beauty of event planners is that we are all different. And, you know, we have all come from these different walks of life. So it makes what we bring to the table and what we bring to the events so special and so different. So, you know, as a planner, being able to connect with people, and as a client, being able to find an event planner that you connect with is really the key to any successful meeting or event. You know, I know that events can be, and let's just say it, events are overwhelming. Events are stressful. But I can promise you, if you find someone that you connect with, that you trust, that you've built that relationship with, the events will go much better because you'll be looking forward to being able to work with that same person every single year. So if you're not jiving, you know, you're not going to jive with everybody. That's okay. I will toot my own horn right now, right here in this minute. I have a client that they were the first group I ever planned when I worked at the Sheraton Convention Center. And they were actually the last event that I got to plan before I left. And then they hired me back in when I started working for Leo Events. And then they hired me whenever I became Invents. So next year, and we already have a contract for next year, we will have been working together on their programs, their same program every year. We've been working together for 10 years. So I just think that's such a great testament because I genuinely look forward to working with them every single year. And I would think after 10 years, they genuinely look forward to working with me as well. So, I'm so blessed that is where I am. And I just wanted to say too, because I've said everybody, the mentors in all my businesses, I almost left out, you know, Leo Events, man, I said they pushed me. Cindy and Kevin Brewer, Craig Beam and Erica Gigas Wallace, I don't know. She has this thing with her last name. Y'all know how much I love you. Thank you so much for all you've done because you really taught me so much. I mean, I just feel like all of the areas have kind of, you know, they've combined into one, and I have been so grateful to everyone who has sort of led to this journey of me becoming an event planner. So, yes, it's nice to have someone, have a connection. Yes, it really is. But the reality is that if event planning is your calling, and I'm a firm believer that you do not choose event planning as your profession, event planning chooses you. But if event planning is your calling, the ability to say yes to opportunities, to the client, to yourself, coupled with your sheer determination to succeed, it'll get you exactly where you want to go. Okay, so I'm going to go to, I'm kind of doing this on double screens right now. So I'm going to go to the Facebook page, just kind of check out, see who's here. Hold on. I feel like I should theme every week with like a song, and this one I felt like was Toby Keith's like, I want to talk about me. I want to talk about me, want to talk about I want to talk about number one on my, what I think, what I like, what I know, what I want, what I see. I like talking about you usually, but occasionally I want to talk about me. Yeah, that's what I felt like this week should be themed. Okay, so let me just see. Let's see, okay. Bethany did bring in Allison and told her she needed to be watching. On Braden are watching. Oh, someone said a sad face. It's not sad. I'm okay. I love event planning. Like I should address that. All right. Well, I don't see anything on here right now, any questions, but really, if you get in here, especially, like I said, this is going to be an 8-week series. So, whatever you'd like to know, I'm happy to answer. If you happen to be an out of college grad and you'd like to meet up on like a Zoom call or something like that, just to kind of chat about what are maybe some cool opportunities. I feel like a lot of kids that I talk to, like when I speak to college classes and we meet up afterwards, like so many of them, like the colleges do a good job of kind of teaching them like there's this huge realm of event planning, but so many of them I feel like still come out and kind of think that like any type of third-party planning, like having your own company, falls strictly under wedding planning. So I'm a firm believer that that's just not the case. But I'm happy to get together. So definitely send a message to Invents, and yeah, I'd love to connect. So thanks for watching. Next week, we're going to be talking about Invents. We're going to explore Invents, the company. We're going to do the who, what, when, where, how, then, and now, just to kind of learn a little bit about the company itself. And then starting on week 3 through week 8, we're going to go through some of the services that we provide and how they can pertain to groups, how they can add to the group. So I'll do a little video later that'll kind of give you the rundown, so you can make sure you're tuning in when you want to catch things that you might want to know a little bit more about. But other than that, thank you so much for watching, and we'll be coming to you every Tuesday for the next 8 weeks, so through April and May, Tuesday, 1 p.m. live on our Facebook page. And if you can't get enough of us here, then be sure to go to our website, which is www.invents.com. and sign up for our newsletter. So every other week we like to send out an inspirational newsletter as well. So thanks so much, and we'll connect with you later.